One of the mistakes black people make when they have the black owned business is thinking that the customer really has to serve you. They think because they have a black owned business that black people are just naturally going to come to you and that they're supposed to come to you. They feel entitled to having their customers. They feel like the customer has to serve them when in truly it's the other way around. And this is why black businesses have such a hard time because they don't treat their customers right. They have some of the worst customer service. They aren't very professional. Now, I've run into good black businesses and I've run into bad black businesses because I go all over the place to different black. I always look for black businesses first. I go to places like the Harlem Book Fairs and Circle of Sisters Expo, and I've seen businesses that were very professional, but I've seen businesses that were unprofessional. But the biggest problem I run into with dealing with black businesses is sometimes the professionalism, the customer service, and just the overall stuff that just is just not right. Like for example, um, when I was trying to promote my screenplay book all about Maryland and the Cassandra Cookbook back in 2008 and 2010 at the Hue-Man bookstore. I got some really, really, really bad service. People were just being rude. They were being aloof. They were being extremely arrogant. And the store really wasn't laid out that well. I mean, I went there and they were blowing me off. And then here I was trying to help bring them business. Uh, I went there trying to bring them some business, not just trying to promote my own book, because when a business when in the publishing game, when you have a book and it's doing and you're trying to sell it to other people, you're trying to bring them business. And I was trying to deal with the black businesses first, but they were just really rude, really condescending, obnoxious, just ignored me, blew me off. And then on top of it, they wanted me to charge me $100 for a book signing. Now, bookstores all over the country, they'll let you do a book signing for free, especially if you're going to bring the books there with you and then split the money with them. They'll let you do it for free because the use of their space is it's helping them, because when you have a book signing, it brings business to them. But Hue-Man wanted to charge people $100 for an hour in their store, and that was ridiculous. And then on top of it, you're treating the authors badly. Um, and it was really ridiculous. So I just left them and decided to go on my own, and that was just really it was really one of the worst experiences I ever had at a bookstore. Other bookstores, they wouldn't do stuff like that. They weren't trying to charge me money to have a book signing, because they know that a writer's going to bring business to you. People want to meet writers, they want to get to know writers. And the sad part about it was I was trying to help them develop their business, help them build their business and develop their business along with my own. It was a networking thing, and they just did not take it seriously. They were just looking to make the short dollar instead of the long dollar. And I was deeply, deeply disappointed because I thought the Hue-Man bookstore was like pro-black, wanted to help the black community, wanted to build up black business. When in actuality, they were just a bunch of hustlers. I mean, it was sad. But I should have known something was up when I looked around at the shelves when they had old books on the shelf from 20 years ago. And then they were selling them at marked up prices. They had magazines that were dog-eared and curled. I'm not the first one to have a bad experience at the Hue-Man bookstore, but it just deeply saddened me because this was a black-owned business. This was a great opportunity to help take it to the next level, but they were just more interested in brown-nosing with celebrities instead of building a business. And part of building a business is keeping things professional, keeping the store laid out nice and clean, making sure that, if you have dog-eared magazines, because I've even seen the Arab guys, when they have a dog-eared magazine, they take it off the shelf and they put that in the shrink pile, because when you have a magazine, you can return it to the distributor for credit. you don't have to have it on the shelf. If it's dog-eared, you take it off. Like the Arab guys, they would take it off the shelf, or and they would just make it for a return, or they would just put it in a dollar pile. Like one guy I saw on Fordham Road in the Bronx, he had all these beat up magazines. He was like selling them for $1. He was like, "Look, I'm just gonna get rid of them." And even the Arab guys in the newsstands, they would take magazines that didn't sell, and they would cut the price on them if they were last month's issues or a couple months of issues. And but the Hue-Man bookstore, they had these TV guides from that were expired from like 3 4 weeks ago. Had them up there talking about full price, dog-eared, beat up, and and they're just sitting there, and it makes your store look bad. And then they were trying to charge people for having putting their books on the tables and put it on the shelf. It was just really, really, really one of the worst black-owned businesses I ever saw. It's like you're trying to make money on the front end and on the back end, and that's why the Hue-Man bookstore was gone. And it really showed me a lesson in bad customer service. I mean, my brother went to the Hue-Man bookstore. He had a bad experience there too. I mean, he said he couldn't find any books. They didn't want to order any books for him. I mean, you're supposed to be the big black bookstore in Harlem, and you have nothing on the shelf except old books. Your computer system, because I've gone on their computer system. I went on their computer system, and it's not as extensive as Amazon. I mean, you can find all my books on Amazon. You can find all my books in Barnes and Noble and in any other system in the world, but you can't find them. You couldn't find them in the Hue-Man bookstore system. And when I tried to come there to bring them to put them in the system, I was getting attitude. I was treated very rudely, unprofessionally, and after that I didn't want to deal with them. I mean, I got better service from the African guys on the street outside of the Hue-Man bookstore than I did when I was in the Hue-Man bookstore. The African guys were professional. They handed me my business. They handed me a business card. They wanted to get in touch with me. The guys on the street actually wanted to have new books for their readers, but the Hue-Man bookstore acted like they didn't want any new books. They didn't understand that most books today, because during the publishing industry had collapsed in 2008, so most of the new books coming out now are self-published. They're not coming from a publishing house. They're coming from self-published authors, and most of those books are the author has to actually go out and talk to people. Because I wasn't looking bad. I had on my business clothes. I was professional looking. There was no reason to blow me off. I mean, there's no reason to blow off any author, because sometimes authors come in jeans and t-shirts, and these are decent guys. They're coming in. They want to bring you business, because a lot of these authors, they may not look like much, but they're on the internet. They're huge. A lot of guys they have blogs. They have big YouTube channels. They have Blog Talk Radio, and people take them for granted. And it's like, especially in the black community, we don't understand that a lot of these authors, they don't look like they're all that, but these guys are big stars in business in the book market. And if you have their books in their system, people really want to buy black books from a black-owned business to build black wealth in the black community. But because bookstores like Hue-Man's bookstore like to blow people off, now they're no longer here. That's their fault. And they lose that money. They lose all that money. They lose the opportunity to build a relationship with the community. And they lose the opportunity, because local authors really are what drive a bookstore. If you don't have local authors, because the local authors have friends, they know people, and they really draw a lot of business. But Hue-Man Bookstore blew that off. Another thing that I had with bad customer service with a black-owned business was the barbershop. Oh my goodness. Back in the 80s, when I was a teenager, we had this barbershop on 167th Street in the Bronx called Jerry's Den. This was a great barbershop. It was a black-owned business, all black barbers. I really felt proud going there all the time, because when I was a teenager, my father used to take me to a barbershop, and black-owned barbershop in Harlem, and I like staying with black-owned barbers, but the one Jerry's Den on 167th Street in the late 80s was just a terrible experience. These guys would come in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to open the shop up. Sometimes it would be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They would be really, really coming in late. They would cut your hair all type of way. They'd be extremely rude. And back then, when the drug game was big, they'd let the dope boys get up in front of you. They would let the drug dealers get up in front of you. You could be sitting there waiting for 2, 3 hours, and if a drug dealer walked in the room in the store, he got his hair cut. And it's like that. These little slights just made a lot of black people stop coming there. And in the mid '90s, the Dominicans started opening up their barbershops, and these guys would be open at 9 o'clock. I mean, you could just come in there at 9 o'clock, and if you like, when I used to work at a supermarket when I was in my early 20s, you could come in there at 9 o'clock, and then I had to go to work at 10 o'clock. I go in there at 9 o'clock. By 9:30, my hair was cut, and by 10 o'clock, I was on 86th Street, headed to work. That's how sharp these guys were. They were on point. They were open all the time, at the same time. They were extremely professional. I mean, and then they undercut them by having lower prices, just being professional, being friendly, being courteous. These were halfway. While the black guys, their business just went under because they didn't understand what professionalism was. They didn't understand that that you have to compete. You cannot take your customer for granted. You have to really, because remember, you're already, as a black businessman, your business is already going to be considered questionable. So you have to do things to raise your credibility as a black businessman. You really have to raise your credibility. You have to really do things that make people take you more seriously, because everybody's always looking for a reason to reject your business and say your business is bad. So you want to give people no reason not to reject you. But back in the day, that's what Jerry's Den did. They took their customers for granted, and they gave people reasons to reject them. They reasons to say, look, this guy, he doesn't cut my hair right because they cut my hair wrong. They messed it up. They made me wait a long time. They took dope dealers in front of me. They took dope dealers' kids in front of me, and it killed their business. And by about 1999, 2000, numerous Dominican barbershops had opened and killed the black business. They killed themselves, actually. So black people, when you own a business, you have to treat your customers right. You can't take people for granted, and you have to really keep things professional. I mean, it means opening up every time on time. It means saying please. It means saying thank you. It means smiling. It means being courteous. It means answering all the people's questions. I don't care if they have to sit there for 30 minutes and want to go through a whole laundry list of stuff. You have to sit there and answer all those questions. And you have to answer them with a smile. You have to answer them courteously. What you really want to do is build that first impression to make people go, wow, this guy's really on point. This guy's stuff is really tight. He's really professional. I want to really do business with this guy. And most black people don't understand that. They just think, oh, I got a business. Black people are just supposed to come and go buy my stuff. And that's not how it goes. You have to really keep it professional. More professional than anybody else, because you're really competing with white businesses, Asian businesses, Arab businesses, even women's businesses you are competing with, and you have to keep it on point. You have to keep it more on point because remember, you're the one that they least want to deal with. So you want to keep your business at the top level so that people will go, wow, I really want to do business with this man. His stuff is really good. And the other thing that I run with poor customer service is a lot of black people like to have a little slick mouth. They like to be funny, call themselves making fun of customers. And that's the little stuff that will drive your business away from you, because when people feel offended, they feel alienated and insulted, they don't want to do business with you. And then on top of it, they tell other people not to do business with you. I mean, my mother told me about this, my father has told me about this, and my brother's told me about this. When you start doing little slick stuff like saying, how long you gonna be here? It's like saying to people, I don't want you here, or look at his hair, it look funny, or look at his clothes, they don't look right. I don't care about stuff like that when it comes time to doing business. I don't care if you're wearing a polka dot pair of pajamas. All I want to do is get your money in my till. And that's the way you have to think about it. You want to make that money. I don't care if the person comes in with rainbow bright hair. As long as they're spending money with you, that's the main thing that matters. I mean, that's what you want. You know, making slick comments, being snarky, being a wise guy. You don't need to do that. You don't need to take it personal, and you don't need to get so emotional. And that's another mistake black people in business do. They get emotional. They bring their personal feelings into stuff. It's like that. You don't need to do all of that. You don't need to do all that at all. No. You want to really just say thank you very much. Have a good day, and that's about it. And I would try to keep when I'm on a job. I always try to keep it professional. I always try to maintain some professional distance. I may do a video about professional distance because people need to understand what professional distance is. Because professional distance will save you on a lot of jobs. It'll keep you from getting into a jam. But black businesses, they really don't understand this type of thing, and it's these little things like this that sink a black business. And another thing that a lot of black businesses I've run into, they're not very good at managing the business. They try to do things the same way all the time. They don't think about doing things because business is constantly changing. So you always have to have a constant new ideas, new innovations, new ways of doing things. But most black businesses, a lot of them, they stay doing the same thing all the time. Some of these guys stay 20 and 30 years doing the same things all the time. They don't adapt to the marketplace. They don't look around and read about different markets. They don't do research and see, how are new areas they can expand in, new and different things they should try. And it really stagnates their business and keeps them from moving forward. And when you're trying to build a business, you really need to do things that'll help you move forward. And you really want to learn new things. You really want to try new things. You really want to expand your marketplace. I mean, the way you did things 20 years ago is not the way they do things today. It's like, I'll give you an example, like Hostess Cupcakes. Not Hostess Cupcakes, the Hostess brand, Hostess business. They were still doing business like it was 1930 something. And the reason why they went out of business is because they were still doing business like it was 1930 something. They hadn't invented any new products because the culinary world had changed. It has changed so much since the first Hostess thing ever came out back in the day. Desserts are different. People have many more options. I mean, you can go to a Target today and get a box of fresh cinnamon rolls for the same price as a package of Hostess cinnamon rolls, which are gooey and they were just disgusting. But the Target cinnamon rolls were flaky, very bread-like, and very textured. And there are also other desserts. I mean, nobody needs Hostess cupcakes when you can get cake pops or you can get gourmet designer cupcakes and things like that. And when you don't adapt to the market, you wind up becoming obsolete. And that's what happened to Hostess. And people think it was just a baker's union. It was a lot of different components, but it was really that their products were obsolete. Their products served no purpose in the American marketplace. So many people had said, "Oh, I never bought a Hostess product because there were much more better products on the market." And the same thing happens in black business. Black business people, they tend to stay with the same tried and true, but they don't try anything new. You have to keep trying new things. You have to keep exploring. You have to keep going with a new because the market is constantly changing. You need to have new, different stuff to get people's attention. Nobody's going to sit there because if you have no new, different stuff, what happens is people start taking you for granted. They start going, "Oh, you're going to be here. It's going to be here forever," like the Hostess cupcakes, and they forget about you. Then they stop buying you, stop having anything to do with you, and they start buying the new guy's stuff because his stuff is new, it's different, it's fresh, it's a whole different experience. And when black business, you really have to listen to your customers. That's another thing. I mean, that's a lesson I learned early on with my first two books. I learned you really have to take time to listen. I mean, people, they may be saying things like when my first book, my sister was telling me that there were passive sentences and there was other things like that. In my second book, Sandra Cook book, not my sister, but book clubs told me that there were numerous errors in them. There were typos and other issues. But some people would get indignant about it. But I took the time to sit down and say, hey, these people are not trying to hurt me. They're actually trying to help me build my business up. They're trying to help me make that next book better. And they're trying to help me improve. And I took what they said and I went back and I revised that book a couple years later under a new title, Recipe for Success. And I tried to do my best to get the errors out, but I made sure my newer books, like All About Marilyn and The Temptation of John Haynes and All About Nikki the Fabulous first season, and my new ISIS series books were much better on spelling and grammar and punctuations and other typos. I did my best to make sure that there next to no typos. And because I listened to people, I got better reviews and I got a little bit better sales. I got better sales. People, um, I had to listen to them and hear what they had to say. And because I listened to them, I was actually able to get more readers, expand my audience, and get a bigger following than I had before. But a lot of black businesses, they'll just sit there and be belligerent and indignant and say, "You don't know what you're talking about. I meant to do that." And it's not that those people are trying to hurt you. They're trying to give you constructive criticism. They're trying to help you build a better product. And part of owning a business is listening to your customer so that you can serve them. And you're gonna, I mean, it's only gonna help you get better. It's only gonna help you get to the next level. And I had to listen to those book clubs. I had to listen to those readers, and it was a lot of work. And I made an effort to make my next books better than my previous books. I mean, I'm always studying. I'm always reading different things like Robert McKee's story. I'm always reading things like dictionaries and thesauruses, and I'm reading books like Elements of Style and style manuals so that I can improve the quality of my product. And then it's important. I feel personally it's important to me to make sure that my products are top notch, top quality, and everything. I mean, about a year ago, I was doing ebook conversions for a best-selling author, and they were having issues. But I still tried to work with her. She was telling me, I mean, people were telling me about there were errors in it because we were using a scanner, and sometimes scanners make errors. And I would go in by hand and correct them, and she would go in by hand and correct them. And instead of us getting crazy, what we did was we tried to improve the product. We kept trying to improve the product. We kept trying to make it better. And it's an ongoing process. What you really want to do is listen to people. I mean, there are trolls, there are troublemakers, but who just don't like books. But you have to ignore them. But if they have valid concerns, you have to listen to them, because I've run into a lot of problems with ebooks and doing conversions, and sometimes the fonts get big, they get small. They could be perfectly fine in Microsoft Word, but then when they get converted with an Adobe or EPUB converter on Amazon or something like no EPUB is actually Barnes and Noble and Smashwords, but on the Moby Pocket is Kindle, and sometimes in conversion the Word files, because Microsoft Word does get screwed up, and they'll get big. The fonts will get all big all for some reason on some words, and then get real small on others, and then you have to just take the file and redo it. I'd rather just redo it and do it right than get defensive. I really don't want to. I don't like getting defensive. I like to keep it professional. I like to say, yeah, well, if there's a problem, let me go take a look at it. Let me see what this looks like, and then let me go fix it. Because at the end of the day, the customer is always right. They have the power to take their money elsewhere, and you really want them to spend their money with you. So that's a main problem in black business. We really don't want to listen to the customer when it's our job to satisfy the customer. It's our job to serve the customer. It's our job to keep things professional. It's our job to really communicate with the customer and really just listen to them, because most of the problem thing with customer service is it's 99% listening, 10% talking. But in black business, it's 99% talking and 10% listening. I mean, all right, that mathematical equation is wrong. I'm really flustered for talking, but it's 90% listening and 10% talking. And black people, we really do it 90% talking and 10% listening. You really want to listen to the customer, because the customer is, at the end of the day, the guy who has the money in his pocket. You want to get his money. You want to get his or her money and put it into your pocket, and you want to win him over. You want to be able to get it where he tells his friends to buy your products. You want to tell him this is the store you want to go to. You really want to get that support. You really, really, really want to get that support. You don't want to just because one person's bad experience gets told to about 5 or 10 people. And those 5 or 10 people tell other people, and then they tell rumors, they spread lies, and then you're in really deep. Your business is going to go out. You really want to have that business. you really want to keep things professional, and you really want to listen to people, and you really want to be on time, and you really want to have good communication. One of the things that I try to do when I'm promoting books is I really try to have good communication. I really try to keep things professional, and I also try to go above and beyond. I remember one Sunday I was just checking email, and this lady from Grenada sent me an email asking me about where one of my ebooks was, because we had a problem where Smashwords didn't approve the third book in the series, and she was looking for it, and I literally I had a bad internet connection, bad Wi-Fi connection, and I sat there all morning trying to get this email out. And I went all over Barnes& Noble, Amazon. I sent links to the book that she wanted to buy, and she wanted to buy the paperback too. So she was looking for the ebook. She said she really liked the book, she really enjoyed it, and she really wanted to share it with other readers. And I said, okay, it's Sunday morning. I could have said, oh, it's Sunday morning. I want to sit here and go to sleep. But I said, no, I'm going to go and do everything in my power to get this lady this email out. It took me 45 minutes on that day to get that email out, but I made sure I got it out. And she was so appreciative. She sent me an email saying thank you. I mean, she thanked me, and I not only got the ebook sold, I got a paperback sale out of that. You really have to go above and beyond for your customers. You really have to be polite to your customers. I try to be courteous wherever I can. Things like my Twitter and my Facebook. Sometimes I do get a little, profane sometimes when I'm talking about other subjects, but never directly to customers. And sometimes I do get a little crazy on the blog, but I try not to keep it personal with customers. Um, I'm gonna wrap this video up, but with black business, we really have to black businesses really have to step up their game. They really have to take themselves to the next level, because the way we do business in the black community is just it's keeping us from moving forward. Our customer service really has to be on point. Our communication has to be on point. Our products need to be top notch. We need to understand that we're not just competing. We can't take our black people for granted. We're competing with other black people. And we always have to be working on trying to improve our products. I mean, that's a main thing that we have to do, is try to improve our products. I mean, I also have a customer issue. Some customers say they have an issue with my book covers. I'm trying to work on that right now. It's really expensive to get covers made, but I'm trying to get it done. I mean, for one of my books, I tried to spend $400 on a cover with a comic book artist, but he did a crap job, so I had to wind up scrapping that cover and doing another one using my own art. But I'm still trying to improve. I'm still looking for artists and things like that. I'm still trying to get it to the next level in terms of quality, and black businesses have to do the same thing. Remember, you're not working. The customer doesn't have to come to you. You have to give them an incentive to come and spend their money with you. They don't work. Customer doesn't work for you. You work for them. I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks for spending your time and listening to my video. Subscribe. Hit me up on the comments, and that's a wrap.